I've said this before, but I'll get into it again with the current situation of the vaccinations. I've stated earlier, in my reels and many other places that those it's all well done, but it's being manipulated again, restricting certain countries to wanna get a vaccine. Um, I remember a news guy. I remember saying one of the doctors saying like to the guy, yeah, it is a valuable product, one we've been working on for many years. COVID came out in 2019, so how did you have the vaccine already ready? These are some of the things that people don't really listen to, or not those fine details, but like not just what they say, but how they say it. You can easily tell when someone is being full of shit. And with that case, it is no different. Like they had a vaccine ready, I think, what? Not even 6 months into COVID. And really, all that has been done is keeping the lockdown, keeping as many restrictions as humanly possible in order to get it done, in order to really manipulate people into taking a product that really has no actual guarantee that is going to help you, which no one has any way of knowing what it's going to do to you, not even 5 days from now, six days from now, 5 6 months from now, 5 6 years. Like I've made that comparison with supplements that were taking in the bodybuilding industry. Back in the 70s, 80s, Arnold days, and the Kai Green days, like we're discovering now. All right, what all those chemicals putting in your body is going to do to you in the long run. Kidney damage, liver damage, all sorts of organ trouble. So who is to say that those vaccinations won't do much worse to your body? And look, if you feel comfortable with that, that is entirely up to you. Because I'm the last person on the planet that's going to tell you what you should do with or to your body, or put in your body for that fact. Your choice, baby. But don't try to chokehold me or the rest of society thinking that I have to take the vaccine because. Because the funny thing that's happening in the Netherlands right now, like they want to put all these restrictions on people. Oh, you have to travel? Okay, you either take the vaccine, which is free, no wonder, or you take a PCR test and a negative COVID test, which, by the way, costs up to 300 to 400 euros if you're lucky. So the government puts on these restrictions. And when they say, well, why we shouldn't have to pay for it? I mean, the government, need me to have this test and it should be free. And you want to know what their reply was? Oh, you don't have to go on vacation. Like, it's a personal thing. Really taking away the accountability of the government. See, when you know how that works, so the government puts on the rules, but the government doesn't want to be responsible for paying for anything. Now, why is that? We pay your taxes, right? So technically, it's not your money. You just manage it. So why should I have to give that much money to you since you manage it? And a lot of people can say that they've mismanaged a lot of the funds. Like, take a look at what's happening in America, right? You want to say that you want to spend 150, what was it? I can't tell if no. They want to spend $1.5 trillion on getting every single American vaccinated. But where was that money when you could have fixed your inner cities? You could have cleaned up your inner cities. Where was that money then? It's funny how funds magically appear out of nowhere when it comes to serving a certain agenda or a certain purpose. Like, hey, I have nothing to lose, so what are you going to do? And I'm not saying, like, hey, you should take the vaccine. I'm not saying don't take the vaccine. I'm just saying be aware. Because honestly, I can see head fuckery from a mile away. No cap. And the way things have been done thus far. Hold on. The way things have been done thus far is just masterfully fucking with everyone. Not being able to work, not being able to go outside, and basically chokeholding everyone into forcefully taking the vaccine, even though they claim it's free of choice. So I won't be able to get a job unless I get vaccinated. Or I won't be able to go to the parties I want to unless I get vaccinated. Or I will have to wear a mask for the rest of my life if I choose not to get vaccinated. Where's the freedom part? I'm missing that. But hey, freedom ultimately is in our hands, not theirs. However, if you choose to blindly trust whatever is being put out there that you should or should not do, that is entirely up to you. And again, all the more power to you. But in a system that has done so much wrong and has taken almost to nothing of accountability nor responsibility, and I'm not saying that particularly a government is to blame for that or a particular politician. Here in the Netherlands, well, we can talk a little bit different. That's right, of course. You know, people who have their own careers at hand rather than the safety and the environment of the people they swore to help out. Having said that, however, a lot of it has to do with an outdated system, an outdated way of thinking that, honestly, whether you believe in the 5D, 3D, HD, it's really very easy to figure out how it came about. And the reason the lockdowns have stayed as long as they did is because Western way of thinking is very limited. Western thinking is let's do the same shit over and over again, expecting a different result. Why do you think we've been in the lockdowns for as long as we did? And yes, it took me a while to get it out there, even though I saw it coming from a mile away. Having said that, however, I'm not telling you pros or cons or none of that shit. I'm saying be aware. Be aware of what's happening. And be aware that you really need to think for yourself. Constantly. Constantly think for yourself. Because people are looking for a leader. What about your own compass? Your inner compass shows you the way. You just got to be able to quiet yourself long enough to listen to that. But again, getting back to the whole COVID thing, if we keep up the way it's going to go, and people are so excited for things to open back up again, honestly, if we don't do the necessary steps, and I mean the real steps, all right? Because a lot of misconceptions out there are that the vaccines will prevent you from getting the virus. Absolutely not. You could still get it. You can still spread the virus. And a lot of people are coping with the situation in all the wrong ways. Like, we forgot so quickly that, drug abuse has gone up, alcoholism has gone up, divorce have gone up, domestic violence have gone up. Really, not just saying because the government didn't necessarily handle things very well, which of course they didn't, but also knowing that a lot of people just have a lot of unhealthy habits and not knowing properly or never have been taught properly how to deal with that, how to keep your energetic vibrations at an all-time high, how to keep your mind healthy, how to keep your body healthy. And you're talking to a guy who was big for a very long time. I'm talking fat, son. I'm talking like, I think I'm around 83, I think around 83 kilos now. But I used to be 110. Matter of fact, I used to be 98 kilos, and I was 12. I was very big. So, being healthy isn't something that especially when you grew up where I grew up, which was an environment of eating unhealthy constantly, right? Getting stuff deep fried, getting stuff, not knowing what it's going to do to your body in the long run. Like, for example, when it comes to health, the reason I don't really indulge in much of these things now isn't just because I'm a fitness fanatic or I'm a bodybuilding fanatic, but really I did a lot of the wrong shit very early on in my life, for better or for worse. Eating crisps, fries, extra large, all of that stuff. So none of us are being taught how to be healthy, especially not in the beginning. That is something you gradually learn. That's something you gradually learn over time, because things change often or not, especially with my diet. Like, I went from meat eater, vegan, vegetarian, eating meat again. So, especially because, financially it's been a bit hard, you flux, because at the end of the day, it's about survival. You eat whatever you can to survive. But again, coming back to the whole COVID issue, it highlighted a lot of problems that we as a society face across the globe. How we look at health, how we talk about health, how we deal with not just physical health, but mental health, spiritual health. And we come to find out too that, spirituality has served its purpose. Spirituality serves to align everything, to give you the proper guideline as like, hey, to figure your inner self out. And having the right good foods with you is just part of that. Like, hey, food is not going to cure every disease, but it will prevent you from getting a lot of diseases. Trust me. You're talking to a guy who had all the wrong food addictions. But coming back to the COVID health issue, there are a lot of things out there that people just don't take into account. And a lot of people don't want to take into account. Why? Because it would involve changing a pattern that they've lived with for so long. But like I said, in Asian philosophy, there is no such thing as a pattern. A pattern is a series of actions that can be changed. Once you realize where it comes from, and once you realize where that pattern comes from, you can do whatever you can to change it, if you want to. Because being all knowledgeable or being spiritually enlightened, as many would like, doesn't prevent you from not making the same mistakes. And that could be in your thought patterns, that could be in your behavioral patterns, but it can also be in your eating habits, your eating patterns, and your ways of why you're eating the way you eat, why you live the way you live when it comes to health. And you could still make that same mistake. And even with fasting, it has its upsides, sure, because we figure out we really don't need as much. As a matter of fact, a lot of the reason we've got problems with our food today is because we really eat way more than we should. There's all sorts of stuff out there on fasting, and but I've done it for a while, and it does serve its purposes. But it has its downsides too. Like, for example, I've been on one meal a day for quite some time now, and really, like, I feel my bones get it got to a point where I had a fear like my teeth were just gonna fall off because they felt so weak. I had a fear like, I was just gonna fall apart at one point. Like, especially in a movie about Gandhi where he just fasts so much that he just nearly died. Been there as well. So again, fasting, has its good parts, but also has its bad parts. So we really need to look at properly at how we look at our foods. But again, getting back to the whole COVID-19 issue, at the end, a virus is a bacteria. You can wear off any bacteria, really, But it's also something genetic, I think some things you're just gonna genetically get, no matter how hard you work out. Like, I know I got cholesterol, and even if I were, if I'm in a vegan diet or not, there are just two types of food I can't touch. If you're on a vegan diet and you got high cholesterol, stay away from coconut. That shit will be like shrimp. If you had any shrimp or any type of crab foods, your cholesterol is gonna go up. If you drink too many products with sugar, well, guess what? Diabetes is right around the corner. But you see, a lot of people aren't aware of what those implications can do, not just to your physical health, but mental health. Like, if you want to talk about a psychoactive material, anything you put in your body, even if it's good for you, is a psychoactive material. And if you're really into fasting as deep as I was, then one plate of good Brazilian food from my brother William, man, I just felt strange, weird almost, but not like in a bad way. But it's like really like I'm getting psycho enhanced. Like, having a plate of William's mother's Brazilian food. Honestly, it felt like I was ingesting crack, dude. So really, if you're looking for a body of psychoactive, especially those who are really into fasting, they'll tell you, man, anything you put in your body, even if it's good for you, can be a psychoactive material. It's just figuring out how to eat, when to eat, and when not to eat. that pretty much determines your genetic makeup as well. And also really figuring out, like, you know, what are the right times to eat a certain type of food. And, genetically, of course, look, we're all the same, but genetically, everyone's different on some level. Like, for example, I absorb two things quicker than anyone: fats and water. That's just my genetic. Took me 4 years to figure that out, but I figured it out. And that is just because doing your research on not just health diet, not just fitness diet, fitness patterns, routines, but also applying them in everyday life. And I know for some that is really difficult right now, or it has been difficult, but really, that's the only way. Even in the Netherlands, we have a saying like, voorkomen is beter dan genezen. Preventing a sickness is better than a cure. Why get a vaccine when you have other more natural, more better ways, more healthier ways that don't have a higher cost than need be? Look, nothing comes without a price. But there are certain prices that people are willing to pay, and there are other things where most people just won't. And really, in a lot of, I can't speak for a lot of African communities, but especially from communities of the Caribbean. Like, I gotta be honest there. Eating unhealthy was basically the norm. And not only has our health been compromised, we've been put in a chokehold, but also the ways of our economy. And one way to get it back is just very simple. Life isn't without taking risks. Even in my travels, nothing is without risk. I've gotten COVID at least 3 times while traveling. This was all before the span. This is all before of September 2020. Yeah, where I was traveling, I knew I had COVID at least 3 times. But that's the risk you take. What are you willing to risk for your freedom? Because putting an unknown product into my system without knowing what it's going to do to me in the long run, especially if it doesn't prevent me from getting the disease, and it's not going to prevent me from spreading it to others. Sure, it may take away some of the symptoms, if that is what it does, if it takes away the worst case symptoms. But what's it really going to do? And what are you prepared to sacrifice? Nothing in this world comes without sacrifice, whatever you want. But if you're willing to give up everything for a little bit, it just shows you how very little you value yourself. Or not even necessarily that, but how you don't value what you could be. Or how so little you know yourself. Because if you're willing to sell your soul for a little bit of fame, or to put your body through hell for minor results in the gym, what's to stop you then from putting an unknown product into your body? Might change your life forever. Will it change your life for the better? I highly doubt so. So take this. There'll be more to come. But yeah, stay tuned.